It's about the governor down in Florida, Ron DeSantis. He's talking about the Tate brothers. Andrew Tate and his brother are not welcome in Florida. Here is DeSantis at a press conference explaining himself.
We have no involvement in that. I read about it through the media. Clearly, the federal government has jurisdiction, whether they want to rebuff his entry into the United States. And I have confidence that whether it's Pam Bondi or Kristi Noem, that they will be looking at that. I do know our Attorney General, James Uthmeyer, is looking at what state hooks and jurisdiction we may have to be able to deal with this. But the reality is no, Florida is not a place where you're welcome with that type of conduct in the air. And I don't know how it came to this. We were not involved. We were not notified. I found out through the media that this was something that was happening.
It's interesting. Governor DeSantis mentions the federal government and having their say. When Donald Trump came down that elevator, he made it clear about they're bringing drugs, he talked about sexual assault and murders and stuff. Look, they've been accused of some stuff, these Tate brothers, and I don't think this president, given his commitment to keeping certain people out, is gonna, but we'll see. Hypocrisy's a hell of a drug. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis drew a contrast with the Trump administration Thursday, announcing that controversial online figures Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan are not welcome in Florida. Trump administration reportedly pressured Romania to allow the Tate brothers, who face criminal charges of sexual misconduct in the European country, to leave to the United States. That's the opposite of what he said coming down that elevator. Spokesperson said the brothers landed in Fort Lauderdale Thursday. President Donald Trump, Special Envoy Richard Grenell reportedly raised their case during a hallway exchange with Romanian Foreign Minister Emil Hărăzeanu at the Munich Security Conference earlier this month. Mediaite with the reporting here. Now, Donald Trump, president, was asked about the Tates arriving in the U.S. I'm sure he had a lot of information to give. Let's hear it.
President Trump, Andrew and Tristan Tate landed in Florida today on a private jet after being released from custody in Romania. They are accused of rapists, human traffickers, not thought of as good people in many circles. Did your administration pressure the Romanian government to release them? And if so,
I know nothing about that. I don't know. You're saying he's on a plane right now?
He's back. They already did.
Yeah, I just know nothing about it. We'll check it out. We'll let you know.
I do. Look, obviously this involves, there's an English element here, so obviously it's important that justice is done, and human trafficking is obviously, to my mind, a security risk. And so we'll catch up with the story in due course.
You're aware? Are you aware? I didn't know anything about it.
There he is again. Remember, he didn't know David Duke. He didn't know anything about the Proud Boys. He's look into it, but I don't know anything about it. Okay. All right, Don. The Tates, who are dual U.S. British citizens, millions of online followers, arrested in late 2022, formally indicted last year on charges they participated in a criminal ring that lured women to Romania, where they were sexually exploited. Andrew Tate was also charged with sexual assault. The Tates deny the allegations, the AP with the reporting. December, court ruled that the case couldn't go to trial because of multiple legal and procedural irregularities on the part of the prosecutors. The case, however, remained open. There's also another ongoing investigation against them in Romania. Romania's anti-organized crime agency said in a statement Thursday, prosecutors approved a request to change the travel restrictions on the Tates, but didn't say who made the request. That's a hell of a coinky-dink, isn't it? Now, the president's on the record, Adrienne, and it's really a canned response. I don't know anything about that. But he says he doesn't know if his administration pressured it. He acted like he doesn't even know who they are. And it's this thing that people do, I find, when they're being dishonest. In a narcissistic way. I think it keeps coming up, where you ask a question. I'm sure you faced this in court and had to shred some people on the witness stand. You ask the question, I repeat it back. So they're on a private plane. Florida, you said. And then you turned to, did you know? The British guy said, look, let me tell you something. Justice needs to be served here. But I do find that to be a tactic that's not credible. But what do you make of this one?
Oh, absolutely. That is one of Trump's common refrains to feign ignorance, to say he has absolutely no idea what's going on. And it's a way to work around the question itself and hope that nobody comes back to it, that the news cycle changes. And oftentimes he gets away with that, or at least to be able to set things up and have them structured such that he doesn't have to be accountable for his actions. But as far as the Tates go, being back on US soil, it's very distasteful. I'm happy that DeSantis is looking into ways to keep those individuals out of his state, even though he has plenty of sex offenders there, not any living at Mar-a-Lago, I'm sure. But still, the reality is that having the Tates here is just not something we'd want, but we have to recognize that there's a reason that even though they're dual British citizens, that they did not go to England. And that's because there's a pretty good chance that the US probably won't extradite them to Romania if Romania decides to move forward with the charges. Whereas, as you heard from the UK Prime Minister there, that they're very happy with ensuring that the Tates face some semblance of justice.
Wow. Broke it all the way down. And to people who respond when you have them cornered on the stand, I always find it fascinating that people can lie and get away with it. And it seems pretty great. They just filibuster when they're just, out in the real world. But when you lawyers get a hold of them in a court, it all falls apart. We saw that with the current president when he's decided to testify and the like. We've seen it in other places. Why is it so difficult when facing someone like you in a court of law to just lie and filibuster?
The thing is, oftentimes what people recognize is that they're going to get away with it because it's all about likability to some extent. If a jury tends to like someone more, they're more likely to see, the evidence more favorable in that individual's light. But also, like we saw with Trump and the impeachments that were brought against them, you had so many political players involved. You have people who aren't going to weigh the evidence objectively because they have their own motives going on. And so that is the scary part, especially when we're talking about leadership in our country. And the thought that maybe had Congress actually made the right decision and confirmed on the impeachment, then he couldn't have run for president a second time and we wouldn't be in this position. But unfortunately, they did not have that sense of integrity to just, maybe make a decision based on the evidence.
Just the evidence.
Just the evidence.
Now, Mitch McConnell wants to sit up here one leg out the door in the Senate, acting like he's supposed to be praised for having some integrity. I suffered polio as a child. I won't confirm RFK Jr. Look, man, this whole thing, we got what we got in large part because of you and this deception and the lies that were put forth, the election lies included. But okay, we'll follow the Tate brothers story and what they're doing down in Florida.